In a world where air domination decides the fate of nations, one experimental fighter rose from the shadows and shocked even the engineers who built it. Imagine a jet so smart it could think for itself, predict threats before they appeared, and outmaneuver enemy aircraft without losing a drop of energy. This isn't science fiction. This is the Boeing YF-15 ACTIVE, a machine so advanced that many still call it the real king of the sky. Welcome back to Wings of War, where we bring you the most powerful aircraft, the deadliest designs, and the forgotten legends that shaped modern air combat. If you're new to the channel, buckle up. The next 30 seconds will show you why we're not just another aviation channel. We're the place where the sky tells its own story. The Boeing YF-15 ACTIVE wasn't built to replace the F-15. It was built to prove that the future of air combat is agility. It carried experimental technology that allowed it to perform stunts no operational jet had ever achieved. When people saw it fly, they didn't believe what they were watching. The jet seemed alive, like it had instincts. The original F-15 was already a beast. Twin engines, unmatched acceleration, and a kill record that still terrifies opponents. But for engineers at NASA and Boeing, it wasn't enough. They wanted to push the platform into a new dimension. They wanted a fighter that could twist, spin, hover, snap, turn, and still remain completely stable at impossible angles. And so came the ACTIVE program. ACTIVE stands for Advanced Control Technology for Integrated Vehicles. Sounds simple, but what it did was revolutionary. Instead of relying only on traditional control surfaces like ailerons and rudders, the YF-15 ACTIVE used something called thrust vectoring. This meant the jet could aim the power of its engines in different directions, allowing it to turn without using its wings. Imagine pointing your engines downward and your aircraft just pivots around like a helicopter in the air. That is what the ACTIVE jet could do, and that is why it became a legend. When the pilot pulled back on the stick, the jet didn't just climb. It pivoted upward like it was hinged to the sky. When the pilot rolled left or right, the jet didn't bank, it spun like a predator locking onto its prey. The maneuverability was so intense that other fighter jets seemed slow, almost outdated, when flying next to it. The first time viewers watched the ACTIVE perform a post-stall maneuver, jaws dropped. This wasn't supposed to be possible for a big, twin-engine fighter. The F-15 was a heavy interceptor, not a dancing acrobat. But the ACTIVE version behaved like a feather in a hurricane, moving with precision that defied its size. And here's the mind-blowing part. The ACTIVE program wasn't just about flight tricks. It was about survival. In real combat, the fighter that turns faster, aims faster, and reacts faster wins. The YF-15 ACTIVE was able to perform near-instant directional changes, making it nearly impossible for an enemy missile to keep a lock. You could fire at it, but hitting it was another story. The thrust vectoring nozzles at the back of the jet responded in milliseconds. They didn't wait for wind, they didn't wait for aerodynamics, they moved with sheer engine force. This meant if the pilot needed to dodge, the aircraft could literally shift sideways or pitch sharply upward in ways an ordinary fighter simply couldn't match. And it wasn't only about agility. Engineers were testing advanced digital flight controls that allowed the jet to remain stable even while performing maneuvers that would send other aircraft straight into a stall. The software inside the jet predicted airflow loss, adjusted control surfaces automatically, and kept the aircraft perfectly balanced. It was like flying with a supercomputer that refused to let you crash. The YF-15 ACTIVE also became a testbed for future technologies. Many systems that later appeared in next-generation jets like the F-22 and F-35 were first tested on this platform. Even aspects of modern AI-assisted flight control began here. The ACTIVE was the stepping stone that taught engineers how to build fighters that could manage extreme aerodynamics without human pilots needing superhuman reflexes. So if the ACTIVE was so powerful, why didn't it become a frontline fighter? Because it wasn't meant to. It was a research aircraft, a flying laboratory. Its job was not to join combat squadrons but to push the boundaries of what fighters could become. And that part, it achieved brilliantly. Pilots who flew it said it changed their understanding of aerodynamics forever. Imagine sitting inside a machine that responds like it's reading your mind. Imagine flying a jet that can rotate in midair without losing speed. Imagine performing moves that make even experienced pilots hold their breath. That was the YF-15 ACTIVE, a jet that didn't fight wars but shaped the future of every aircraft that will. Even today, when footage of Active appears online, people ask, why don't we build jets like this now? Truth is, we do, but the technology inside many modern stealth fighters was born from experiments done on the Active. The jet served its purpose as a pioneer, a teacher, and a glimpse of what the sky could look like if engineers stopped following the rules. The YF-15 Active will always be a symbol of pure innovation, a reminder that the sky does not belong to the aircraft with the biggest engines or sharpest wings. It belongs to the aircraft that can adapt, twist, move, and react faster than the enemy can think. And in that category, the Active was king. As we wrap up this deep dive, one thing becomes clear: the Active might not have served in active combat, but its legacy is everywhere. In every supermaneuverable jet, in every thrust vectoring system, in every advanced flight computer that keeps modern fighters stable during extreme turns. It was a silent contributor to the evolution of aerial warfare. This is why, in the world of experimental jets, the Boeing YF-15 Active stands tall as one of the real kings of the sky. A machine ahead of its time. A beast built not to fight enemies, but to fight the limits of physics. If you enjoyed this story and want more forgotten legends, more powerful machines, and more sky-breaking technology, make sure you subscribe to Wings of War. Your support will help this channel rise again. The sky is wide, and we're ready to conquer it together.